Hello guys and welcome to Odds-On Europa League match day 6. So the last match day in this group stage, still some things to be decided, although we have to say that most of the spots are already decided for the next round, but still we can place some good bets. Dani Fisichella Alvaro Romeo, hello as always, and we want to know your opinion, so leave your comments, press the like, subscribe. We reach another milestone, 25k subscribers, so thanks to all of you. And now let's go on with it. And as always, remember that we have a special welcome bonus with 1xbet, so use our promo code to get a really good welcome offer. Well, guys, as I said, most of the spots are already decided, but still some things to be decided. On Group A, we know that Freiburg and West Ham are going to be still in the competition in February, but we have to decide which one is going to be in the first spot. Right now, Freiburg, for the difference of goals, for the goal average, they are on top, but unfortunately for them, they are going to London to play against West Ham. West Ham, Alvaro, they got thrashed against Fulham. It's a bit up and down, this team lately. It's a roller coaster. They beat Tottenham. They lost to Fulham. You think they will be able to get a victory at home? Usually they are very good at home in Europe, actually, and get this very important first place.
Yeah, and I think that they changed their skin when they play in Europe a little bit, really, because West Ham United this season in the Premier League, they concede an average of almost 2 goals per game, which is a lot. But then in the Europa League, they have conceded only 4 goals in 5 games, which is less than 1 per game. So, you know, they changed in the Europa League, that's for sure. Maybe they have found a bigger motivation there, or perhaps in the Premier League, they find it more difficult because the quality of the opponents is really big. But at the same time, you know, they have to sharpen up for sure, because Christmas is coming, many games are coming, and West Ham United has the chance now to qualify first in the group. A draw is enough for West Ham United because the head-to-head with Freiburg, it's still good for them. They beat Freiburg in the reverse fixture. Both are qualified, that's true, but finishing first is important just to avoid one extra round. I think that also West Ham United has to address the striking department, because Jarrod Bowen is having to play every single minute pretty much, because Antonio has been out. There is no trust whatsoever on Dani Ings. And I think that Paquetá, sometimes he plays in positions that don't suit him, just because David Moyes at the minute doesn't have so many options at front. All that said, West Ham United has been a good team in Europe over the last 24 months, really. I remember in the Europa League 2 years ago, they did very well. Last season, they won the Conference League, and they are playing against Freiburg, who are also, in a way, similar to West Ham. They resemble them because their numbers in the Bundesliga don't match their numbers in the Europa League, but for different reasons, for opposite reasons this time. Freiburg is the tournament's top scorer with 17 goals, which is amazing. But then in the Bundesliga, they have scored only 17, the same amount of goals, but in many more games. It's true that they are in a decent run, Freiburg, because they have been 3 games unbeaten in the Bundesliga. Gregoritsch has scored a couple of goals in the last 2 games to get them 6 points, and Freiburg are comfortably in the middle of the table. In the Europa League away, Freiburg has done very well, getting 6 points, which is fine. But this visit to West Ham United ground may be more difficult than the previous ones, that's for sure. Also, Freiburg has a number of injuries. In fact, they need a winter break. So I would say that for this game, I'm not ready to commit to the full-time market, maybe. I think West Ham United will have the upper hand, but I'm not too sure about that because a draw works for them. So maybe they play for the draw somehow, or when the game is drawn, they don't attack a lot. So I will go for both teams to score because both sides are scoring many goals in this competition. That pays 167, as much as over 2.5 goals, that I like a lot too, 167.
Is because, Dani, Freiburg this season, they are conceding many goals in the Bundesliga, except in the last few weeks where they are winning games, as Alvaro is saying, and getting into comfortable positions where they are keeping clean sheets finally.
They're 8th in the table in the Bundesliga. They're unbeaten in 4 and won the last 3. So yeah, things are getting better for Freiburg. They got good players, Grifo, Gregoric, Salai. It's a bit of a mystery why they're not doing so well in the Bundesliga. West Ham, of course, in Europe, they've done really well. They won the last 9 home European matches. But there is a sense of frustration with the West Ham fans, especially with David Moyes. Perhaps they don't see the team taking a step forwards. It's true the results have gone their way, but have they been lucky recently? Forest, Burnley, Bachka Topola, Palace, Spurs. These are all results that have gone West Ham way somehow, but there's been a degree of luck. Only 2 clean sheets in the last 14 games for West Ham, by the way. That's why I like the both to score. 30 goals conceded in the Premier League. Only Luton, Burnley and Sheffield United have done worse, as Alvaro suggested. So their defense, it is a concern. Moyes said they are mentally and physically exhausted. Well, but that's a problem because now they have to play a lot of games more, so they better get back into shape. So otherwise, Christmas is going to be really, really painful. By the way, David Moyes is the manager who has lost most Premier League games as a manager, 238. Joined along Harry Redknapp. Well, probably coaching Manchester United didn't help. Freiburg, well, Freiburg, I coached Everton as well, which, was a bit up and down. Freiburg might lose, not by a great margin. Asian handicap plus 0.75 for the German side, 192.
Well, West Ham won in Germany. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, 2-1.
Yes. Clash is first. So, as Alvaro was saying, if they have the same points, West Ham will go in the first spot in this group. We also have Olympiacos, Paxta Topola. Olympiacos will play in the conference unless they lose. But the normal thing is that they are going to play in the conference. In Group B, the most interesting group, as we've analyzed in these few weeks. First game is Brighton Olympique Marseille. Also for the first spot here, Marseille with a draw. They have 11 points. They will be top of this group. So Brighton, Dani, they need the victory, but they weren't able to beat Burnley at home as a big surprise in the last weekend. And they are having many injuries, as you were analyzing. Christmas is coming. So it could be an uncomfortable game for Brighton, and your friend Gattuso is doing great things.
He's getting better. He's getting better, and the players.
2 Italian managers there, eh?
2 Italian managers.
Good managers.
Different style.
And 2 big rivals. You have to go back to the playoff in Serie C 2014. A bit of a scuff between the Zerbi was managing Foggia and Gattuso managing Pisa. They don't like each other. Let's put it mildly. But yes, injuries are taking a toll on Brighton. They made 67 changes to the starting 11 in the Premier League this season, 23 more than the team who made the second most, which is Nottingham Forest. So they had to change the formation so many times, a little bit because the Zerbi likes to change, okay? He's a manager that never gives the player the assurance they are always starting, but also they got so many injuries, and I think that affects the flow, to be fair, for them. They're still doing really well. I think negotiating the 2 competitions for them is been good. It's been really, really positive, but they're now unbeaten at home against the Zerbi for 7 games. So they're doing well at home at the Amex Stadium. Most of them have been draws, only 3 wins and 4 draws. But, they are hard to beat, of course, at home. Recovered against Burnley after went to a goal down. And the statistic is about both to score, really. 20 consecutive games in the Premier League, both to score for Brighton. So you know what you're going to get. And I think those wins 2-0 in the Europa League, they've been freak results. They're not exactly the norm, really. And they had chances to score a few more goals. They did concede. For when it comes to OM, Olympique Marseille won the last 4, unbeaten in 5, 13 goals scored in the last 4. Aubameyang is scoring also in the league finally, 7 goals in 4 games, 3 assists. He's still hunting Falcao for the record of the player who scored more goals in the Europa League. Aubameyang 29, Falcao 31, so he might well become the leading top scorer in the competition. Marseille don't need necessarily to win there. As long as they avoid defeat, they'll be guaranteed a place in the round of 16. I love the Asian handicap +1 for the French side. 183, I think it's going to be a high scoring side. I cannot see Marseille getting beaten heavily in this competition. They've done really well. So 183, Marseille Asian handicap +1.
We have the two top scorers of the competition, João Pedro and Aubameyang in this game.
Yeah, João Pedro has netted 4 penalties. João Pedro is a player that
you don't like.
I mean, he's not, you know that he's not my favorite one. I think that he's got the quality. He had a cap for Brazil and he played the game for them. But I think that the call from the knees came too early for João Pedro. The truth is that he doesn't pass the ball a lot. When he gets the ball, he doesn't raise his chin, so sometimes he doesn't look his options around. And it has to be a little bit frustrating to play alongside him because he normally doesn't pass the ball a lot, even though in between the lines he's very good. The Chervi has created a system that suits very well João Pedro. And in all fairness, I mean, he doesn't miss penalties either. And he's a player that he really wants, I think, to shine, and he really wants to establish himself in elite. And he knows that for that, his numbers have to match his expectations about himself. And, his numbers are there, but many of his goals are penalties. Aubameyang is different. Aubameyang, I believe that he's one of the good scorers of the last 15 years. His numbers are there. He's going to retire with more than 300 goals. And, when he's in a good run, he can be deadly too. 5 goals for Aubameyang in the competition this season, 5 for João Pedro. Daniele mentioned the injuries of Brighton and Hove Albion. It's very difficult to put into practice the service football, which is quite special. If you have many new players, you have to rush all the conceptual trainings and sessions because the games are there and you are playing in midweek as well. And on top of that, you are getting many injuries. I mean, Ansu Fati's injury is a blow, but also Pervis Estupiñán on the left, he was offering so much. And Solly March on the right, he was basically fixing all the problems on the right. So basically, Brighton and Hove Albion have lost the striker they trusted on to be their Europa League striker. And then their 2 best wingers, Pervis Estupiñán and Solly March, with the permission, of course, of Karumi Toma, who is on a different level to everyone else. But, I think that Brighton is doing okay. The last time they didn't score a goal was in September in the League Cup, so I expect goals for this game because Aubameyang is scoring 2 and Olympique Marseille as well. But there is something about Brighton that we have to say. For example, in the Premier League, they have produced both teams to score since the 14th of May when they beat Arsenal 3-0 at the Emirates. But then in the Europa League, they have 3 clean sheets. They have recorded 3 clean sheets, so there is a little bit of a disparity in their numbers too over there. But the perception is that they are having an okay season. But I will say that they are having a good season considering that they are playing 2 competitions and they have had many injuries as well. They are only 4 points away from Spurs, who are 5th, by the way. Both are qualified. Brighton needs a win. Marseille can do with a draw. I'm going to go for both teams to score, 157. I like that one. But if I had to plan for somebody winning here, since I follow Brighton more closely and I like what they are doing, I will go for Brighton to win, which is 170. But I prefer both teams to score.
Indeed, is a good one. Olympique Marseille scored 14 goals in this Europa League and conceded 9. So also we are seeing a lot of high-scoring games for Marseille in this group. We also have Ajax, ACCA fighting for the 3rd spot. Ajax needs the victory to qualify for the conference. In Group C, this is the most interesting group if we want to think about qualification, because we have 3 teams with options to be in the next round or to be out: Betis, Rangers, and Sparta Prague. The first stop is in the Benito Villamarín in Seville. Betis, Rangers, Pellegrini's men are really favorites, 1.9, even if they are going through a rough patch. 1 victory in the last 4 games, even if the draw against Real Madrid, of course, is a positive game and result, Alvaro, but the thing is that they screw it up in Prague in that defeat, and now they could be nervous, I think, ahead of this game, even if Rangers, we know that they suffer away from home, and for instance, they lost in Limassol and drew in Prague.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that Betis screwed up in Prague. It's true. That happened at the end of November, 30th of November. But Glasgow Rangers also screwed up against Aris Limassol. That was a booster for Betis in a way because the results went their way. They lost, but Rangers, who were fighting with them for the top spot, just got a draw, at home against the weakest opponent of the group. That was very lucky for Pellegrini's men. I think that the odds for Betis to win are good. I'm gonna go for Betis to win 183. Betis will possibly top the group with a draw, but if Sparta wins by a few goals, then they won't. So Betis has to make sure that if they can, they win. Betis has suffered only 4 defeats this season, just one since September. So the good run is there. I mean, good teams are normally defined by the amount of times they lose, and Betis doesn't lose many, but it's true that they've been drawing a lot lately. The 1-1 with Real Madrid, though, was a very good result for them. William Carvalho could be ready for Betis for this game, and William Carvalho is an important player, and I think Pellegrini will use him because this is one of the important games of Betis this season. Going through will help Betis' finances. Let's don't forget that Betis had some problems in the past to register players in La Liga because they couldn't meet La Liga's salary cap, and they had to sell Alex Moreno, Canales, send Juanmi on loan, and so on. But I think that Betis is favourite. And when it comes to Rangers, well, they are at least qualified for the Conference League. Maybe over there they can find the chance to, win a trophy this season. Who knows? With a win, they are through as group winners. So things are in their hands as well. Again, they screw it up at home against Aris Limassol. Yes. But with a draw and a win from Sparta, they will finish third. So Rangers should better win the game. It's not going to be easy. They are scoring many goals, though, because they have scored in 14 of their last 16 games. And, the only time they didn't score was in Prague, and that was away. So take with a pinch of salt maybe the amount of goals that Glasgow Rangers has been scoring, because in Prague they didn't score. I know they are traveling even to a more difficult ground like Benito Villamarín. As I said before, Betis to win 183 sounds to me about right.
And Betis games usually are low scoring, actually. We don't see many goals in Betis games, Dani.
That's why I like the under 2.75 goals, 190. If there are only 3 goals, you get half your money back. Yeah, totally agree with Alvaro. Betis did well against Real Madrid, really. 1-1. In the end, Isco hitting the bar at the last minute. So, yeah, they're a team that is on the up. And Rangers, on the other hand, since they changed the manager, since Philippe Clement replaced Michael Bale, they're doing much better. They won 3-1 at the weekend. They were down to 10 men, scoring 14 out of the last 16 league games in 12 consecutive games in the Scottish Premiership. And they are hunting down Celtic. And now there are a couple of important games for Rangers. Well, first of all, on Sunday is the League Cup final against Aberdeen, which could be the first trophy for the new manager, Philippe Clement. And I think it's important. You say, okay, it's only the League Cup, but it is important to already get a trophy like that marker. And then the last game of the year is the game against Celtic, another old firm. So, if they win that one, they lost the previous game 1-0. But if they manage to win them, then they might cut the deficit or might even be top for New Year. That could be really, really important. The Celtic Glasgow, that, is going through some rough patches, a bit of injuries for Rangers to deal with. No Danilo, no Tom Lawrence. They got a tough schedule, same as in England. They play an awful lot of games. They got 12 games in 37 days. The Europe away.
Pereira and Steven Davis, Dani, are out as well?
Yeah, they probably are. They are negotiating.
A few injuries, yeah.
And I think, the focus should be on the Cup, on the League Cup final, really. But, if they do drop down to the Conference League, it's not a disaster. I think that's their level. That they can get some joy. So I would rather expect Rangers to be a bit conservative here, really. Don't necessarily go gung-ho. Yeah, probably a low-scoring game, a low-scoring victory for Betis. Could even be a 0-0. Under 2.75 goals, that pays 190.
Well, Rangers beat Betis in Ibrox Park some weeks ago, and there is another option, even if Rangers lose, but Sparta Prague screw it up against Aris Limassol, they could qualify, and that's my next question and the next game. Dani, Aris, Sparta Prague, Sparta to win is 2.0. Should we trust them? The odds are very good. Aris is very poor, as Alvaro was saying, but we know how Rangers screw it up there in Cyprus.
So Aris Limassol need to score a lot of goals. They need to win with 2 goals difference if they want to go to the Europa League. So it has to be a high-scoring game for them to be able to... Sorry, to the Conference League, that's right. If they want to progress. Aris Limassol is in a decent moment. They won at the weekend against Apoel, but have conceded in the last 12 European games, 25 goals. They only played 13 European games in the history. They didn't concede in the first one, and then they concede all the time. So you could say, yes, Sparta is a mammoth task for Aris Limassol. As soon as they concede a goal, they need to score 3 or 4. But Sparta Prague, they got an awful away record. They lost 16 of the last 19 away European matches. The only win was in 2020 against Celtic. It is true they are in a good run of form, won 7 of the last 8, kept clean sheet against Rangers and Betis. I do trust them to go there and shut down shop and be a low-scoring game, really. Probably a 1-1 or a 1-0 win for Sparta. I can't see Aris doing such an amazing comeback. So I'm going to go for under 3 goals, 185. As you can see, the bookies, I do expect goals. I'm not seeing that.
Are you going for Sparta, Alvaro?
I'm going for them, but as Daniele was explaining their away form, I will be more than happy to downgrade their win, which is 190 at the minute, to an Asian handicap minus 0.25, because it's true that away from home they haven't been really good, and an Asian handicap minus 0.25, meaning that if they draw, you suffer, have a lose. If they win, you win. Pays 165, and it's not bad either. But I think that the best thing about this group is that everyone depends on their own result to get what they can still claim or achieve, because Aris, as Daniel says, can still qualify for conference if they win by 2 goals. I think that the draw against Glasgow Rangers saved them, by the way, because now at least they've got something to play for. Then Betis, Sparta Prague, Glasgow Rangers, they all depend on what they do. But in the case of Sparta Prague, I think that it's a little bit of a blessing to travel away to this ground, because I think that they are better. Sparta comes a long way, because they were beaten by Copenhagen in the Champions League playoffs. It wasn't easy for Copenhagen, and we have seen the level of the Danish side. Then they beat Dinamo Zagreb in the Europa League playoffs. So they had a complicated, a difficult start from the beginning of the season, but now they are in a decent position because they are top in their own league. They depend on their own result to be in the next round of the Europa League, which is good. And I think that all changed for them, really, in this group when they beat Betis and Rangers lost the 2 points against Aris. That draw from Aris at Glasgow changed the whole landscape completely. So now, for Sparta, a win will be enough to go through, and I trust them. But as Daniel said, maybe away from home they haven't been too good. So you can bet them, or you can back them with a win, 190, or as I said before, an Asian handicap minus 0.25. Let's see what happens. I think they'll be there. They'll be probably grinding the result, and they will be playing on the front foot.
Very interesting group, the most interesting group, I would say, in this last match day. Group C. In Group D, we are going to skip it. Here we have Atalanta to be top of the group, Sporting second, and a good fight between Sturm Graz and Rakov Czestochowa. By the way, check this game, Rakov-Atalanta, to find good odds. 3.3 for Rakov to win, Atalanta 2.8. So very good odds. We go to Group E, and to the game of Liverpool playing in Belgium against Union Saint-Gilloise. And here also the odds are very, very interesting, Dani, because we have Liverpool to win, very positive, I would say, 2.3. You don't see these odds for Liverpool to win, even if it's in Europe. But of course, the bookies think that Union Saint-Gilloise have things on stake, and that club is going to change the whole team, because we know how tough is the schedule in the Premier League, and Liverpool are already qualified as first in their group.
They need to win big, Union Saint-Gilloise, and hope that Toulouse loses if they make it. So, for example, if Union Saint-Gilloise wins 2-0 and Toulouse loses, they can make it into the Europa League playoff. Otherwise, they will play in the Conference League, but of course, they need to watch the back depending on the results of LASK. So it's all complicated. So Union Saint-Gilloise needs to make sure they go out and play the best football because they risk to get defeated by Liverpool. Look, Union Saint-Gilloise is an entertaining side. They're high scoring. They're top of the Belgian league. They got plus 11 points on Antwerp, last season champions, but it counts for nothing because in Belgium there are the playoff and the points get halved at the end of the season. So there's going to be in contention. But it's a team that has improved a lot. It's a team that, every year gets stripped of the best player. Mitoma, Undav, the other one who plays for Brighton who scored at the weekend, the name is Adingra. But yes, they lose best players all the time. So they got a good scouting there. And now the star player is Amura, the Algerian international they signed from Lugano. Very quick, very skillful. He feels fired up. I think they could have a chance. It's difficult to beat this Liverpool side, by the way. But, even if they play in the Conference League, I think that could be a really interesting team to watch and to follow. Is more of their level, perhaps. When it comes to Liverpool, they're a bit dysfunctional, I think. I don't think they are particularly sound in defense, but they got a front five that always produces something, and he got Mohamed Salah scoring a lot of goals, and he got midfielders popping up with goals, the likes of Wilson or Showballs there as well. Look, it is difficult to judge Liverpool. I don't think they are the best team in the Premier League at the moment, although they are top. They had it wrong with the referees when it came to that game of Spurs, but since then they get a couple of favourable decisions in there for them in the derby against Everton, even at the weekend against Palace. The sending off is a little bit soft, so things have gone the way a little bit. They've rescued 18 points in the Premier League, so often they fell behind, often they conceded, but they still manage to get the results. They got an epic about them, and obviously that's the mentality, that's the strength that years and years of fighting against Man City has given them. Now, in the video we did about Champions League, we talked about Real Madrid and Union, and Alvaro said for a club like Real Madrid, it's not okay to lose against Union Berlin, and I think it's a very good point. Is it okay for a team like Liverpool to lose against Union Saint-Gilloise? Is it acceptable? The next 3 games for Liverpool are Manchester United, West Ham, Arsenal. I think they'll take the foot off the gas a little bit. Over 3 goals here. Union Saint-Gilloise, you never know. I trust them, and I think they could score a couple. Over 3 goals, 186.
Well, Liverpool lost to Toulouse. I don't think if this is acceptable, but I'm sure the fans, Alvaro, will prefer to beat Man United and get a defeat here.
Of course. And let's don't forget what happened last season with Liverpool and Manchester United. Liverpool scored 7 against them, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that the demands at Anfield and the demands at Real Madrid are different, really. To start with, Liverpool is playing the Europa League. And, the manager is still there. If Real Madrid qualifies for the Europa League, I can guarantee you that Carlo Ancelotti wouldn't be there. They would have sacked him, definitely. But yeah, it's true. I mean, big teams normally win most of the games, and the demands are there, and also the competitive tension is very rarely lost. But we have seen also Liverpool this season suffering in many games. I think that one of the reasons why they are so high in the Premier League, top in the table, and they are also top in this group is because for them scoring feels inevitable. I mean, they've got many players who can score. And when Jurgen Klopp brings players from the bench, you get the feeling that the new players can score as well, that they are as good as the starters. And that makes Liverpool a dangerous side, but in defense, they are not good this season, and they are not playing particularly well. I think that Szoboszlai has ups and downs. In some games, he disappears, he's anonymous. In some other games, he's very good. McAllister now has an injury. His start at Liverpool has been a little bit difficult. Joel Matip is going to be missed because Joel Matip is going to miss the remainder of the season. And I think that Tsimikas is a downgrade on Robertson, and Robertson is still injured. But generally speaking, one thing that strikes me is that Liverpool is, despite all their flaws and imperfections, they are still top in the Premier League. So I'm going to back them with an Asia Handicap 0, which pays 180. And I will be happy to risk and go for Liverpool to win 245, because if they draw and I don't get any money back because I went for a draw no bet, maybe I will feel a little bit frustrated, because deep inside I know that Liverpool can win this game, even though they will probably bench a few key players, one of them being Mohamed Salah, I guess. And when it comes to Saint Gilloise, look, they got only 1 point in the second half of the group stage. They should have done better, really, knowing that the last game was against Liverpool. Now they could even be out of the conference with a draw, if Lask beats Toulouse, which is a possibility too. So they started well in the Europa League, and then they have been poor, really. 1 point in the last from the last 6 available. But on the other hand, they have recorded six straight wins at home. They are unbeaten in 6. So, they've been competitive lately, 3 clean sheets in that run of unbeaten games. But I think that Liverpool's scoring power will prevail over Union Saint-Gilloise. 3 clean sheets in the last 6 games. So I'm going to go for an Asian handicap 0 for Liverpool, 180.
Well, imagine if there is a huge risk, Alvaro, of Union Saint-Gilloise losing this 3rd spot, that Lask is favorite to beat Toulouse in the other game in this group. Is 2.4 for Lask to win, Toulouse 3.4. So it's still very open, this group. Not, of course, the first spot. We haven't said it in this video, but remember that the first spot skipped the playoff with the teams in the 3rd spot of the Champions League, going to the Europa League. So that's why it's very important to finish first in this group stage. Next group is Group F, and here we have another clash for the first spot. Rennes, Villarreal, both teams are suffering in their domestic competitions, but happy in Europe. Rennes with a draw, they will be topping in this group. Villarreal, Alvaro, we know that they've changed manager twice in this season, so Marcelino is the 3rd manager, and they screw it up with the draw at home against Maccabi Haifa, actually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But anyway, both are qualified. And Villarreal, by the way, have improved with Marcelino, even though in the weekend they lost, but they had so many chances. Unai Remiro was phenomenal in that game, Real Sociedad goalkeeper. But, Villarreal have a number of issues. One of the important ones is that they have had many players in the sidelines, because Mandy, the centre back, now that Pau Torres is gone, he has had a spell in the sidelines. Jeremy Pino is missing the World Cup, and he was the right winger and one of the best players they had. Comesaña, they signed him from Rayo Vallecano, also muscular issues. Alberto Moreno, their best left back, or at least their best attacking left back, has been out too. Villarreal has been very poor at home this season, and away they've been okay. It's strange, because at home they have suffered 6 losses, and then away only 3. Doesn't make any sense. I guess that they will change this in the future as the season goes by, and these numbers will improve. But, they've been okay with Marcelino. I would say that the Marcelino effect is palpable, really. And Morales has been really good, but when Morales is not having his game, like the other day against Villarreal, well, Sorloth comes in, and even though he's not my favorite striker, he's a striker, and he's definitely doing better than Ben Breneton Diaz up front. And when it comes to Rennes, look, they started with many draws the season, and now they have lost the last 2 games, and they barely draw games. They have lost games that on paper they should lose. So I don't know if that is very concerning, but it is probably more concerning that they are 13th in their league. However, in the Europa League, they are doing okay. This is a head-to-head battle. Whoever wins come out first in the group. And Rennes has some really dangerous players, in my opinion, like Amin Gouiri, one of my favorite, perhaps underground players with his skills and his quality and all that. But, I think that this game could be a double chance for Villarreal. I think that the money is good there, 171. I think that Villarreal can get a point from this ground and yet feel very frustrated because they wouldn't go as first. I think Rennes can do with a draw, and they will be happy with the draw because they will top the group. So a double chance for Villarreal.
Well, Dani, Alvaro thinks Marcelino is improving this Villarreal. I'm not sure if Stefan is improving Genesio, because we also saw a change in the bench in Rennes, but they lost the last 2 games in France, and as Alvaro said, they are in the spot number 13. This is so bad for this club.
Only one win in five in the league. Yes, and Stéphane, who won the Coupe de France in 2019, took the club to Champions League, came to replace Genesio, and we have to say Genesio never lived up to the expectations in in the team, considering that they had a talented squad. Doku, Agerd, Camavinga, these are some of the players that they produce and of course sold. It is again a team that produces a lot of players, gets stripped out every summer and needs to rebuild. Sometimes things don't go to plan, but perhaps Rennes could have been more challenging in League One when they had so many good players. They don't have them anymore, but they just need a draw to finish top of the group. And now they are 13 in the league, and because in France from this season there are 2 teams less, is 18. There are more teams fighting for relegations than before. So obviously now they're closer to the drop. But has reducing the number of teams in France helped them in Europe? That was the idea. Eliminate the League Cup, eliminate 2 teams to make them more competitive in Europe. Well, of the 6 who qualified, 5 of them are sure to play in Europe after Christmas, and Rennes is one of them. It remains to be seen how competitive they will be comes the knockout stages. For Villarreal, they only lost one of the last 16 away matches in the group stages, and that was the 2-0 defeat at Panathinaikos, 0-0 against Maccabi last week with the game in hand they got. They were without Baena, Comesana. Yes, I mean, when they got too many injuries, they become a little bit predictable. I think probably an under 2.5 goals here. I'm not convinced Villarreal gonna go there and score many. Under 2.5 goals to 0.6.
Visiting Bernabeu, Villarreal next weekend. By the way, here Panathinaikos Maccabi Haifa is the other game with a draw. Panathinaikos will be in the conference. Next group, Group G, and here we have Slavia Praga Servet with a victory. Slavia Praga will be first of this group, and still some chances for Roma, for Mourinho, playing at home against Sheriff Tiraspol. Dani, difficult to find good odds. Perhaps it's good to put this game in your ACCA. Perhaps it's good to Asian handicap Roma, despite the effort of the weekend, because they were playing with 10 men at the end. With nine, a heroic point against Fiorentina.
Yes, an heroic point. But when they went down to 10 men, they gave up on playing football. And I think even if you're down to 10 men against a good side like Fiorentina, you could still try and keep the ball a little bit better and do something. And Roma just gave up, but they've been unlucky because in the first 20 minutes, they produced a very good goal, a combination Dybala-Lukaku. Then Dybala got injured. He missed a chance before to make 2-0. And then, as soon as Dybala comes out, Roma becomes very, very flat, very, very predictable. And also Azmoun, who replaced Lukaku, got injured in the second half. So out of a sudden, really, Mourinho have very few creative players on the pitch. This game against Sheriff is basically a friendly because they need Slavia to drop points against Servette at home, and Roma need to score at least 5 goals or more. But without Dybala, without Azmoun, I think Mourinho is going to give some players a little bit of rest. But in football, you never know. If you start scoring a couple of goals in the first half, then you're putting pressure on your rivals. So Roma must give it a go. They are 4th in the table. They got tough games to play, but the expectations are so high in Rome, and probably they're going to be a good crowd at the Olimpico regardless. And in Europe, they've been really good. They won the last 7 home matches in the Europa League. Mourinho won 19 out of 21 Europa League ties, and they play against Sheriff, who've never won so far, never advanced to the knockout stages. As I said, he's a friendly, but I wouldn't be surprised if this finishes like in a high-scoring game. Maybe not 5, but could be 3 or 4 for Roma, despite giving a couple of players a little bit of rest. I think Lukaku is also pursuing a very good record in the competition as well. Over 1.25 goals in the first half, 187.
Well, Sheriff is one of the poorest teams in the competition, Alvaro, with only 1 point, far away from that team that won at the Bernabeu, for instance, and played Champions League.
Oh yeah, definitely. Very far away. They only got 1 point in the Europa League, and they got it at home against Servette. But other than that, it's true that they have conceded a lot. They have conceded 14, and that probably sets the tone for the betting that I will be putting here, because I think that Sheriff Tiraspol are very leaky and very porous, and they concede a lot, and therefore I'm gonna back Roma to win this game, really, because as Daniele said, with Jose Mourinho, Roma at home in the Europa League have been quite good, I would say. They only lost against Betis from in the last 9 games, which is really good. They lost 2-1 last season. But other than that, if you check the results in Europe, I mean, they beat Servette 4-0, which was still fine. They beat Slavia Prague 2-0. Last season, they beat Feyenoord 4-1. They beat Real Sociedad 2-0. Of course, Dybala is missing, and the creative outcome of Dybala will be very, very missed, obviously. But they've got players to win this game, and they've got Romelu Lukaku. If he starts, in my opinion, he can score in this game, because Romelu Lukaku, his goal guarantee, especially against, a smaller opposition in the Premier League, he had a little bit the reputation of being a flat track bully. I don't agree completely with that, but it's true that Romelu Lukaku scores many goals against opponents that are easy on paper. Roma is qualified, that's for sure, but they still have to push, because if Slavia draws and Roma wins by 5 goals, which is something that I don't think will happen, but anyway, Roma will top the group. So I'm gonna go for Roma to win at 30 minutes, which is in a way the same logic that Daniele has applied in his bet. Because he also thinks that there will be goals in the first half, and probably for Roma. And I also like the Asian handicap -2 for Roma, 181. But I prefer Roma to win at 30 minutes, that they will storm onto the pitch and produce something, and Sheriff is very poor. Again, they have conceded 14 goals. That's an average almost of 3 goals per game.
Well, no team dropping from the Champions League would like to see Roma in the playoffs, and it's going to be very likely that Roma finishes second in this Group G. And the last group is Group H. Here we are going to analyze Bayer Leverkusen. Molde, still the second spot, is on stake, with Karabakh having all the odds to be in the second position, Alvaro, because they play at home against Haken, the worst team in the competition, with 0 points. And because Molde, they are playing in Leverkusen, unluckily for them.
Unluckily for them, yeah. I think that this game... Edu, do you mind if Daniel starts with this? Because somehow I have lost my odds completely, and I don't want to beat the wrong one. So go for it, Daniele.
I got to rescue. Well, I think Molde, to qualify, need to do better than Qarabağ, okay? And the draw won't be enough. And it's very difficult for Molde to go to a team that's unbeaten in 22 games, longest run in Europe, and win. Leverkusen, yes, it's true they've drawn the last 2 in the Bundesliga. A fair result against Stuttgart. Stuttgart had 18 shots in the first half, so Leverkusen suffered a little bit. Responded well in the second half, equalized with Wirtz. Xhaka hit the bar. Previous week, they drew 1-1 against Borussia Dortmund, so they've slowed down a little bit, but that's absolutely normal for the team. They're still playing really, really well. They got 3 home matches before the break now. Leverkusen, they play Molde, they play Eintracht, they play Bochum, and then there is a winter break. So when you think about, okay, rotation, giving players a rest, that has to be taken with a little bit of pinch of salt, because they got a winter break, so they don't need to rotate the squad as much. But I'm sure the focus will be on finishing strongly the Bundesliga and be top at Christmas. When it comes to Molde, they took the lead twice against Karabakh, and they got equalized in the last minute. They have got goal scorers, really, but I don't think they can lay a glove on this Leverkusen side. They're going to keep the ball, move it well, create chances. I like Leverkusen to win 2-0. For me, it pays so well. 270. I think they'll stay unbeaten. They'll win. 270 is a great odds.
Actually, the odds for Leverkusen to win is 1.4. I think they are great, apart from the things that are on stake, that we know that Leverkusen should rest players, but 1.4, Alvaro, could be good to put it in your ACCA.
Look, Edu, sounds like a safe bet as well. It's not mine particularly, but it's true that I thought about it, and Leverkusen are so good this season that you have to believe that they can win pretty much every game at home, especially against lesser opposition, and Molde is, because Molde in Europe, they don't have a great pedigree, and it's true that they have won one game away. They beat Haken, that was in November, 3-1, but it's incomparable to play against Haken as playing against Leverkusen. Sorry for losing my odds before, by the way. I don't know what happened to my computer, but I found them now. My odds for this game would be Leverkusen to win and over 2.5 goals in that game. It's 167. Why do I go for that? I know that Leverkusen are group winners, and I know that Xabi Alonso probably will rotate, thinking about the congested calendar before the winter break in Germany. They will be very happy with the winter break, Leverkusen. Yes. But they've got so many good scorers. Boniface and Wirtz in the Europa League. They have participated in 6 goals each, combining goals and assists, which is incredible, really. Florian Wirtz alone has provided 4 assists, and Granit Xhaka is playing football really well. There will be an interview with him soon, I think, in which he will explain what Xabi Alonso is doing to his game, because I thought that Granit Xhaka couldn't improve more over his game last season with Mikel Arteta, and this season he's playing even better, and I'm really looking forward to reading that piece. But anyway, I'm gonna go for that one, really. I think Leverkusen will win, and I think that they can score many goals because they have been scoring many goals both in the Bundesliga and in the Europa League. So Leverkusen to win and over 2.5 goals, 167.
Well, Molde, they are already in winter break. Their league is over. Of course, it's so cold in Norway. So let's see if they can keep competing in Europe next year, for sure. At least they will be in the conference. Yeah. Well, Alvaro, you told me Leverkusen to beat Molde is not your safe bet. Then which one is it?
It could have been, but it's not. My safe bet is a double chance for Liverpool, 146.
Dani, your safe bet?
Ajax Asian handicap 0 against ACCA and 154.
And your ACCA, Dani?
Slavia Prague Servette under 3.5 goals. Brighton Marseille, both team to score. Rakov Czestochowa Atalanta under 3 goals. And Freiburg with an Asian handicap of plus 1.25. Total odds 5.45.
Is Muriel gonna play after his great goal?
Well, he must. He deserves that. First goal in Serie A this season.
One of the goals of the weekend. Alvaro, your ACCA?
Very quickly. Betis to win. Asian handicap 0 for Liverpool. Asian handicap minus 0.75 for Bayer Leverkusen. Altogether 4.77.
Great, guys. We will be back with Europa League, of course, next year with the playoffs. Let's see which teams are involved. Perhaps we see Man United, Roma, for instance, could be an option in the playoffs. It could be.
Again.
Or Porto.
Or Porto. So many things to be decided. Thank you, Dani. Thanks, Alvaro. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
See you.